Hi everyone. Right, what we have today is I'm going to explain a little bit about what I do in readings and what you can expect to get out of a reading, because I have this question asked to me quite often when people are inquiring and want to book in and that with me. They quite often want to know what to expect and whether they need to turn up with anything and how I do it and everything like that. So I thought I'd make this little video and then I can just kind of flick this link to people that are inquiring, and for the rest of you, just to give you an idea. So, yeah, the best time to get a reading, because I've heard this quite often where clairvoyants have said to people, or people have said to me that they've been told, should I get this, I should get this done once a year, or, yeah, I don't know why they say that. It's kind of like the dentist telling me I need to go in there every 6 months and have a checkup and that. It's like, I think I'll come and see you when I got a sore tooth, because that's what you're going to help me with. So the best time to get a reading is, I suppose, when you feel like you're going a bit insane. That's a good time to get one. When you've got a big decision to make, that's another good time to get one. When there is somebody you want to have a connection to that you've lost, that are in spirit and that's another good time to get one. Don't get one just because you're curious and that, when life's going all right and everything, because actually to get the most value for money out of them, it's like when you're going through stuff and you're really confused and you want clarity, or you want some confirmation or some understanding on your circumstances, it's like they can be so constructive at those times in our lives and so useful in that guidance, to get that clarity and understanding. I always start my readings with, I don't know how other people do them and that, but I always start my readings with telling you what you've been up to recently in the last 2 or 3 days, and these are always really, really random things. They're things that you've thought, seen, done, heard and talked about. Because whether you've seen it, done it, heard it or talked about it, your thoughts given attention to these things, and that's what I'm connecting with where your focuses have been. And also what it does is it brings my focus in around where you're at today in life. So we cover off some random bits and pieces, to start with, that should have kind of surfaced in your reality just in the last 2 or 3 days. And then as I go along, I start getting more in-depth information, and that information should be relevant, it should make sense to you, and should be answers to things that you've been wondering about in that, but not answers in a way of stuff that you don't know, like more confirmation for you on what you've been feeling and what you've been thinking and all of those sorts of things, because I can only in a reading really tell you what you already know, because I'm reading you, so it's got to be there contained with you to some degree, and so then I start kind of getting more in-depth information, and that information gives you a little bit of clarity, a little bit of confirmation and all of that. And while I'm in that process, quite often people that have passed over and are in the spirit world, they like to come through and have a bit of a catch up and convey some messages to be shared and everything. I never know what's going to happen in a reading. Like, you're always running the reading, not me, like I don't sit at my end and go, what's happening with her work and what's happening with the relationship, what do I feel about that, like, actually I just start a reading by wondering about you, and then whatever follows, the information that follows, and that is always relative and where things are at for you, and shedding light on your circumstances and things, so if you're getting a reading done because you've got a big change with your work and that, and you're kind of wondering how that's going to go, or then I find myself talking about your work a lot in the reading, and it's like, if you're getting a reading because somebody's passed over and you'd like to be connected with them, then that's what I'm doing most of the reading, like, there isn't a kind of set thing that I'm ever following, and I know this because at the end of readings and that, when I invite questions and that, it's usually people are quite surprised, but they have all been answered. Those questions have all been answered that they turned up with, and because I'm reading you to start with, So that's what you can expect out of a reading. And what I did find, I've got a couple of rules in a reading though, you know, that I have for you guys, because, and I didn't realise this for a long time, but it's kind of like quite awkward at your end, you know, because it's like, you never know how much to say or not say, or, you know, like it kind of feels rude just to answer yes or no, or, you know, like there's kind of that awkwardness when you're getting a reading and receiving one at your end. Like it's like, what? Yeah. And then, of course, you don't want to say too much, and then, yeah, there's all of that going on. So I come up with a couple of rules that I put on the table for everyone at the start of their reading, and one of them is leave your questions to the end of the reading, because it should just all piece itself together organically, and it'll be far more interesting to see how it's all going to piece itself together. In its own way anyway. But at the end of your reading, it's like you will get the opportunity always to ask whatever you like, you know, at the end of the reading. So leave your questions to the end, that's one. And the other thing is you are only allowed to say yes or no in a reading with me, you know. Because when I'm asking people things and that, I'm just looking for confirmation of what I'm getting in that, you know. So reading's really easy with me. At your end, it's like leave your questions to the end, answer yes or no, and leave the rest to me. I always record the readings, and I upload them to the net and that, and then I flick you through a link, and you're able to follow that link through and download the recording if you want to keep it and hang on to it. So yeah, and I always record every reading, so you're able to receive that recording. A while ago, I mean, I've had a lot of people ask me for quite a while, you know, like, I don't need a full reading, Jill, I've just got this crisis, want to throw some questions at you, you know. So, I don't know, maybe just a couple of years ago, I started letting people know that there were half-hour options available. But if you're getting a reading off me for the first time, you've never had one before and that, then it's probably a good idea to get the full hour. If you want connections with the spirit world and that, you're probably better off getting an hour, because sometimes that's like pulling teeth with them. But I think that the half hours are really good if you're just wanting some clarity on a situation, or you're going through a crisis and want some guidance, or yeah, a little bit of clarity, confirmation, all of that sort of stuff, then the half hours are really good for checking in with those. The half hours you are allowed to ask questions, but not till about halfway through. And I kind of invite that a little bit in the half hours, because I like to make sure that I'm going into or covering off all the subject matter that you want covered off, because of the limited time and everything. So there's half hour options available, and there's hour options available, and you can get your reading either by Zoom or Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp, you know, like we get together on a video call. Yeah, so there's a little bit about my readings. I wanted to do this for a while now.